So you walk in with the constellations. We're still hurting as a nation. The bar of the north, you fed a generation. So we'll tip our caps and we'll raise our glasses. Yeah, it takes me back. Yeah, it takes me back. From Little Haven's walls to Chagrin Falls. Yeah, it takes me back. From Little Haven's walls to Chagrin Falls. Yeah, it takes me back.
That is Takes Me Back. That is the latest single that's coming out from these guys from London, Ontario. They're a band called Brother Leeds. We're going to have them on the show tonight. But before we do, there's a lot to unpack there, right? I saw these guys, the footage that you saw with these guys at their last show in November, opening for 5440 in London, Ontario. And it was so good to see them up there on that stage, man. It was a great show. They did an awesome opening set, really tight, very professional, right from the top to the end of your set. It was a quick one. It was a great one. I don't know how long it felt for you guys when you're up there, but it was a great show, man. So we're going to talk about that tonight. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about stuff that's going here at TUNZ Records. These guys, Brother Leeds, one of their albums, and we're going to talk about that album tonight, was their last release, and it's upwards of 100,000 streams now. So I'm pretty freaking excited about that because, it's really tough getting ears and eyes on music when you're doing it organically. It is really tough slogging. It's like these guys working hard to get the shows that they get, and it shows. It showed when they played in London that they were worthy of having that opening spot on that stage. And so, without further ado, we're gonna talk about them tonight. But I want to give you a list of things that are happening this month off the record label. Takes Me Back. Brother Leeds starts it off. And that release will be out this Friday. Diesel Kind of Guy from our Outlaw Trucker GM Blacktop. Check that out. Diesel Kind of Guy. If you like trucker music, this guy sold all of his CDs at trucking outlets across America. So that's an amazing feat. His whole printing got sold out. So that's a good problem to have, isn't it? The Night Is Gonna Get You, and that's coming out from our friend Slant 6 from Edmonton, Alberta. Dead of Night comes out from our band Damsel in Vancouver, BC. Bunch of young guys, young guns, ready to get out there on the road and tour this summer. They're hungry, and they've got some really heavy rock and roll they want to share with you. We've got a re-release of a remastered version of Breaking Loose. That is off the White Lace and Black Leather album, which was a second Helix independent album. And we're re-releasing that this month as well. And we also have Sellout from a band in Boston, Massachusetts called Angry Hill. It's their 25th anniversary of this single, and it's called Sellout. Check it out wherever music is sold. All right. Well, these guys are from London, Ontario. They have a really, really great show. They're great showmen in their own right, and they're all seasoned musicians. And we're gonna, bring them on here. So hang on a second as I bring these guys live, and hopefully we bring everybody on screen at the same time. There's Andrew joining us. There he is, right? Okay, so let's see if we can't get rid of some of this minutia on the screen so that we can have a really decent chat here. And we'll remove that video. There we go. I'm up here in the top left. We're kind of like I can move us all around too, right? So somebody can be the dad, right? Ron and I are mom and dad right now. Okay, so behave yourself, children. Okay, so here's something I want to ask you guys as a band, collectively, okay? And we'll start in order we see ourselves on the screen. I'm going to start with Andrew and move across the top and to the bottom. And I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself in terms of what got you into music really quick, and how many years you have been in the music world.
Thanks for the question. I started my interest in music when I was about 9 years old, just listening to the radio. And shortly after that, I got my first guitar and just started playing by ear. And it's been an obsession ever since. A wonderful obsession.
Amazing. Your story, Steve Sinclair.
Yeah, I bought my first guitar at a friend of mine in high school. I was about 16, and I spent that summer learning off Cult Electric, and that was it. And I was hooked. So, and that was about 1,000 years ago.
Sometimes it feels like it.
And here's a guy that's been around a while too, Brad. You've been a road musician off and on throughout the years. You've got a business now that is steeped in music. A record shop out in Mount Bridges, Ontario. If you're ever there, you should check it out. It's a cool little operation. Brad Coward, tell us about your foray into music.
Well, probably started about 9, 10. Got my first snare drum at an auction for like 50 cents. I fixed it up. I also made drum kits out of Humpty Dumpty potato chip boxes. And and I stole I borrowed. I say I borrowed. They say I stole. I borrowed my oldest sister Joanne's Beatle records. Listened to the Beatles over and over and over. And as I moved on into music and got more into it, then I borrowed my other sister Brenda, her Alice Cooper records. And I was hooked. And I played all through high school and went on the road and played full time for about 4 years.
Wow.
So,
great experience. So Andrew, give us the year that you got introduced to music. What year?
I would say 1978.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah.
What year?
I'm going to say 92.
Okay.
192. Yeah.
So you got your cherry broken late.
Apparently, yeah.
Brad?
He's the baby of the band.
Brad, what about you?
71.
I'm only
72.
35, Ken.
71, 72. And Ron, okay, so we're saving the best for last here, right? Because I know this guy's been around a long time. He's a sought-after bass player because he's so skilled. And he's a really modest dude. And Ron, I want to make sure I pronounce it right, so I'm going to get you to pronounce your last name for everyone.
Yeah, it's a Van Bohemen.
Van Bohemen.
Yeah.
Like the Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian.
Yeah. That's one of the names I get called.
Right on. So Ron, tell us a little bit about how you got into music.
Well, I started when I was a kid. My first intro to music was my older sister. She played and always sang her acoustic in her room. And so anyway, she was the first one. And then when I was 16, 17, I got interested in playing the bass. And after that, kind of the rest is history, right? I just kind of loved playing the bass the most. And I play a couple other instruments too, but it's mostly just the bass. So.
And the year that you got introduced to music?
Well, yeah, 1979, 1980 was my first introduction, but like my real love for playing was like probably 1985, 1986. And it was honestly listening to those like first Metallica records, you know what I mean? Like Ride the Lightning had just come out, and then Master of Puppets was about to come out, you know what I mean? And both those
Right.
records were like amazing. I
So
played them to death.
so I'm a little bit before all you guys.
Yeah.
My first garage band was 1973,
Oh, wow.
and
Yeah.
we had a chance to play high schools and parties, like field parties. We played outdoor field parties, and we played the Turkey Fest
Oh, wow.
Nice.
in Strathroy, Ontario.
Yes,
Strathroy
yeah.
Turkey Fest.
And we knew a lot of musicians back in the day. Do you guys remember a guy that used to tour all around? He was a one-man show. His name was Paul Sharp.
Yep.
Keyboardist.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, all rolled up into one. And amazing dude. And he introduced us to the road world of playing the bar circuit. So, I was 18 when I was 18 years old. That was the year drinking became legal for 18-year-olds. So when I was 18, I could start playing in bars. Now, mind you, I had played in bars before that, right? But I wasn't
Yeah.
legal at the time. Nobody knew that because I was the band. They didn't check your ID if you were the band.
Don't ask,
Apparently,
don't tell.
Yeah.
no, they didn't check your ID if you were the band. So, we tried it and we got in a few bars and we played a few clubs. Right? It just happened.
That's
It's just
cool.
one of those spontaneous.
Yeah.
And there's people I grew up with didn't even know I was into music because I didn't play with anybody from around here. So it was kind of one of those things. Our lead guitar player was from Strathroy originally. But anyway, long story short, you guys collectively have several years of music together.
Yeah. We've been at it a while.
And like close to 40 plus years each. So collectively you have about 160 years worth of experience or so.
Well, when you put it that way,
That's a lot of jamming.
That's mostly my experience.
But your
A lot of
music
gray hairs.
your music is demonstrating that. I mean, here's some guys. You guys have all played in cover bands, right?
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Most
So
cover
it's-
bands.
Now there was some point where you guys decided to come over to the light side from the dark side, right? Because what we do in the independent music world is so much different, right, than what's happening in the mainstream, right? And people don't appreciate what's happening in the independent music world, right? And they're losing out on opportunities to discover great bands like you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Thank you.
a ton of great music out there.
Like the first time I heard you guys, I can't even remember. I mean, back when you guys first came to the label, and I think that was a conversation between you and John. Steve, didn't you and John have a conversation about the record label?
We did, yeah. I think Newport had signed on first, and then John and I were talking, and he was mentioning thought it'd be a great idea for us as well.
The cool thing about it is, I never solicited you guys.
We found you.
It was really you guys found me, and I really do appreciate that, because that's what I exist to do, is for people to find me because of the passion that I have for music.
Yeah, it shows. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I mean, it's something that brings out a great deal of emotion in me, because music is a big deal to me. It always was. I grew up on music.
Yeah.
And and I got to see some really great acts. Like 1974, I saw Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention at the old London Arena.
Oh, wow.
Right? I mean,
That's
I got to
awesome.
see one of the greatest musicians who's ever lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
he was so many years ahead of his time.
Oh yeah.
Zappa and the jazz fusion and all the stuff that he put into the shows, right? There was theatrics into it, and it was, so much of it was like making fun of yourself.
Yeah, and he was a clever guy too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he was
Huge.
he was a music genius. Like, I grew up listening to those guys. Same year I saw Kiss for the first time, 1974 at the London Arena, and back in those days there was no security, right? So I'm laying on the floor with my feet up against the riser, looking straight up at Gene Simmons, who's spitting blood on me.
Awesome.
I mean, that is, and all I remember is I was laying on the floor with my feet up against the stage because we were stoned, man. We were stoned. We had smoked weed, and we chucked a few beers down before we went into the venue for the show, right? And we were messed at that show. But I remember my buddy Jim was with me. He grew up out in Romulus, Michigan. So he saw all the greats, Bob Seger, all those guys. He saw all them out there in Romulus. He saw them at Coval Hall, right? Yeah. He introduced me to some great bands. Anyway, he's the one that got the tickets for the Frank Zappa concert. Nice. And I got the tickets for the Kiss concert because I was really into them, right? And we're laying there, and they're playing Rock and Roll All Night Party every day, and the confetti's coming down on us, and we're tripping. We were laying there just tripping. Yeah. Like, we're going, like, this is the greatest rock and roll show that I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. Of course, I'm okay. By this time, this is 1974. I'm 15 years old. What the fuck do I know?
Yeah.
Right? But here I am.
Spit blood on me.
Here I'm at 15 years old going, this is one of the great, these guys are going to be the greatest rock and roll band of all time. Mm. And I knew that when I saw Kiss for the first time, they're going to be something big.
You can see it in them.
I saw it in 74, man. When I looked up at Gene Simmons and I saw Paul Stanley and saw how sweaty they were and how fucking they left everything on the stage when they played that show. And I mean, that was one of the first times that they played Rock and Roll All Night Party every day. And then they used to close out with Let Me Go Rock and Roll.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. They would play the two back to back as the encore songs. Right. Yeah. And this is back in the day when everything was simple for them. Right. They just had the Kiss sign, the double Marshall stacks, and, the firelights and
the candelabra.
The candelabras, but they were real candelabras. They were real candles burning. You could tell they were real candles burning because they weren't all straight.
Yeah.
But I mean, seeing those guys, and then I saw them progressively throughout the years, and I thought, yeah, I knew it. Yeah. I knew it. I wish I had been able to sign them. I was too young.
I want to do that.
Maybe the record label was a glimmer in my eye at that time.
It's in the blood.
Probably.
I really feel fortunate to have been able to meet you guys, to discover your music and help you market your music and put it out there in front of people. Because I think you have a great product.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. We love making it. We love creating it. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to talk to you guys. I'm going to ask you each a question about something that's really near and dear to my heart. And I want you to tell me what comes to mind when I use this word. Okay. Who wants to start?
Ron does.
Oh, great. Thanks, guys.
Brad says he'll go first. Brad says he'll go first. Okay. So networking.
What comes to mind? Oh my gosh. Networking. Finding what comes to mind for me is finding like-minded bands. So guys like, say, John and whatnot in Newport Electric, as an example. I think networking with those types of guys, and not just that band. I'm talking like bands in general that are kind of doing the same thing that we're doing. So that would be what I.
Well, you guys did poach one of the guys from the band.
Well,
he poached.
Or you can ask maybe he left. He left He left.
Maybe he
willingly,
poached
Ken. He
you. I don't
didn't.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew,
Yes.
tell me what the word networking means to you.
Keeping my ears and my eyes open all the time, wherever there's an opening, talking to people, making yourself available, and that's how I find new ways, new people to play with, that sort of thing, opportunities.
Steve, what do you think of that?
Yeah, it's the fun part. It's class trip, from for the music biz. You go check out a band you've never heard of, take a flyer on them, and a lot of times it pays off.
Yeah.
Ron, what about you? Networking.
Well, I'm not the best at networking, but one of the things I used to do a lot of was going to open stage jams. And I did that for probably about 12, 13 years, right? And you meet a lot of people that way. A lot of different musicians end up in different bands that way. You know what I mean? So that's always been the way I've done it. But.
So here's my 2025 challenge to you to help you reach your goals. Okay. Find one new way, each of you, to network this year. Find a new way to network. Think of different ways you can network with people to not only leverage your product, but help lift them up as well, right? So if we create this, my idea is this utopian thing about the way the music biz should be, is that we should all be lifting one another up.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's enough people out there. There's enough people out there that want to put people down, right? I went to the live show. Oh, he can't play worth a shit. Oh, blah, blah, blah. All the negative stuff that people say. But what about the great stuff that people are doing? It's not easy to do what you guys do because you're making yourselves vulnerable in front of your audience.
Absolutely.
People don't realize how vulnerable, true musicians make themselves to their audience, because you're putting a product out in front of them for the first time sometimes.
You're putting yourself out there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're
And
putting
you might love it, but it might not be great. So
yeah, you don't know how well it's going to be received, do you?
That's right.
No.
You always take a chance that way for sure.
And you never know when you introduce a new song to your audience, listening audience, so they go, "Oh, well, that's a departure." Right? Is it a departure, or is it a different? Is it a different construct? I mean, you look at if you look at what's happened, what's morphed in. I love it in Newport Electric, right? Because their releases this year are the end of last year and into this year are going to be that they've got that. Americana style rock and roll thing going on that some of their music could be in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
They really nailed it.
Yeah, I find their music almost like timeless sounding.
I could see the song "Bad Idea" being put into a remake of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, they've got
totally work.
It would totally work in any kind of Quentin Tarantino movie, right? Even the one where they was it with George Clooney, where they turn into vampires after dark.
Dusk Till Dawn, yeah.
Dusk Till Dawn. I mean, another great movie. And bands like you guys could create soundtracks for somebody like Quentin Tarantino, right? With that in mind, right?
That'll be our next record. We'll just write the whole thing for.
Well, I mean, if you think about writing a single, right? One way to write a successful single is finding one that could end up in front of a music producer's desk, right? Or imagine a music producer or a music supervisor finding your track, right? And going, wow, maybe this isn't the one for our movie, but wonder if they would write us one.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't like this, we'll make more.
No.
So there is a repository that we push music out to, but it's really tough to get the music looked at seriously because there are so many submissions. So the database that I've been using is IMDb. You ever heard of IMDb?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So IMDb's, for a lot of people that don't know IMDb, they're kind of responsible for a lot of the video stuff that's out there in internet land. And so if you can get things recognized by IMDb, then there's a good chance that your music will find its way in front of a movie supervisor
Wow.
when they start pulling it up in the database and they're looking for specific types of music, right? So when you submit, a lot of these submissions go under genre. So knowing specifically what your genre is really important, because that's exactly what is going to get you on the short list, right? If you've accurately described who you are from a genre point of view, then you're more likely to make it into the next round, right? Because when they start a limit, because what they'll do is they'll look at several different unknown artists, right? Look at Buddy that did the opening song that got played on every episode of Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, wow.
Right? He was an unknown, right?
And then that made him.
They
Wow.
found his music. They found his music. Look how many times that song for the beginning of Sons of Anarchy has played.
Mhm.
It was one of the most streamed shows of its time, and my daughter is still watching it. I got a 24-year-old daughter who watches it.
And rewatch
Awesome.
it. Rewatch it.
Because she finds that whole mob sort of mentality very interesting, because she has a background in psychology.
It
So
was a
she
great
likes
show. I loved it.
she likes watching it because she starts thinking about how the character ticks, right?
Yeah.
And so she finds all the flaws that the character has. She finds
that's cool.
the good and the bad in the character. It's really interesting. It's a different way, and she's a 24-year-old.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
A lot of characters in that show.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's and she loves watching I keep telling her she needs to finish her education. She wanted to become a psychological profiler,
Very
but
nice.
she has Crohn's disease,
Right.
and she has very severe Crohn's disease. So it really does put a damper on her ability to stick at her studies.
Mhm.
But
Right.
she's only so many credits away, I think, from getting her undergrad.
Oh, wow.
So I
that's
want her,
good.
I want her to get her undergrad, and then I said, work on your master's, then work on your PhD, and write a book,
Get it out there.
and then go out and talk about your book on the book circuit, right? Because you're really, really smart. And I said you should be working for, at the very least, you should get a job working for the RCMP, because you're a great psychological profiler. She can see through people
That's awesome.
like crazy.
That's
No
quite a
kidding.
talent.
Yeah, it's a real talent, right? And she knows when people are being genuine with her, and she knows when people are blowing smoke.
Yeah, that's
You
like
know.
a superpower.
Yeah, so you guys, I mean, you guys all grew up in London or the London area?
I did, yeah.
I grew up in Sarnia.
I'm from St. Mary's area.
I'm from Woodstock.
Woodstock. And Ron?
Yeah, I grew up in London.
It's it's interesting. You guys all share that southwestern Ontario geography,
Yeah.
right? Those of you that haven't listened to their music, if you want to think about, how algorithms would recommend Brother Leeds music to you, it's probably going to be sounds like Rolling Stones, sounds like the Tragically Hip. There's a whole lot of other stuff rolled in there. I even, any of you guys listen to Steely Dan?
A little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
I love
He's
Steely
great.
Dan.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's an influence on there. I mean, I hear a little bit of that there. One of the most underrated of all time is my belief is Steely Dan.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of underrates. I mean, a lot of people that were underrated for many, many years, right? And I see that you guys, I know Steve, you were reluctant to share stories or commentary about what the tracks are about.
Well, I didn't want to give you nightmares, Ken.
Well, here,
Welcome to the mind of Steve.
so me, I'm a little bit OCD with this stuff. Okay, So you have to excuse me, but that's one of the things that makes me good at what I do
Yeah.
with the record company. Is that, you know, I like all the checks and balances to be there, and I like to make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, right? And something that occurred to me, and I'm just going to try and get to the track right now. This is off the. It's working on it. My external drive's going slow. Here we go. Let me see if I can get it in there. So I'm just going to drop it in here because I ended up having to come up with the description for the song.
Yours is probably as good as any. I don't even know what half of them are about.
So what you said to me, here's what you said. You said, I really want people to make their own interpretation.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so, you know, I looked at that and I went, okay, well, this is really, really cool. So I thought what we would do is this little exercise in my mind, listening to the song at different ways. I listened to the song a few times first.
Okay.
And so I got to get to it here because here it is. Here's a description. What takes you back? ? Is it your memories, experiences, events? ? Or is it more? ? We hope you enjoy the first track off The Ugly Carnival. So I really thought the song was sort of thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Right?
That's one of the few on the record that has actually written about something specific. So that's a good one.
The vintage artwork on it is part of it for me too. The visual that you created to use for the artwork for the single, to me, works to the artwork because it harkens back to a time. Right. So, you know, we all have really, really great times in our lives that were like huge highlights. I thought I saw a meme today about that, right? Is that the really true friends in the world will create those happy memories for you.
Yeah, that's a good thought. Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, this idea of creating camaraderie and networking with people, from my perspective, is about building those relationships and looking at what you do. And this is one of the reasons I started the private group for everybody on the label. Was I want to create that sense of community and family amongst all the artists on the label. Because then you don't feel you're alone, right? You've got other people to talk to, right? You've got other people that are experiencing the same thing you are. They're having successes, they're having failures, and their successes might be your failures.
And we're hardwired for community anyway.
Right. And vice versa. So there's things that by you guys networking with other bands on the label, aside from what Brad and I talked about the other day doing pop-up concerts, right?
Yeah.
You know, and did you share it with these guys?
No.
I was going to say.
I haven't seen them all.
What are you talking about, Brad?
So pop-up concert is something I looked into a while back, and it's getting the beach stage at Grand Bend in the afternoon.
Oh, I would love that.
Right. And putting on a pop-up concert from 2 to 5 p.m. because you've already got 1,500, 3,000 beachgoers right there.
That's right.
Right.
That could be good.
And the Rotary Club has agreed that they will set up a beer garden there. So that'll get some people drinking some beer down there and attracting some people from that perspective. They actually cordon off the whole area up into the upper deck as well there. You know, the observation deck? That all becomes part of a beer garden.
No, nice.
Apparently. Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but that they look after that piece of it, right? And so if we network with them, they get to take off the beer garden, right? You guys get to set up a merch tent down there and sell merch. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that we're looking at doing is that putting a tip jar out.
Great idea.
Right? Where if people appreciate what you're doing, they can come up and tip you. Who cares if it's a toonie or a loony? You know what? Down in Nashville, there's bands that make $2,000 a show.
Wow.
Right?
And that's tips.
$2,000, and a show there is like a 50-minute set.
Right.
Mhm.
Right? And some of those artists on the main strip there, they do 3 shows a night. They're making almost $6,000 a night in tips.
Not bad. Not
Right.
bad
And it's all cash money.
Yeah, we got to head down there.
We're all moving.
Yeah,
to
the only thing about playing down Nashville on Broadway is you got to play cover tunes, right? Yeah, you can't play originals.
Never mind.
But there are private clubs down there, like the Vinyl Lounge and a few other places that book bands.
Perfect.
And bands put shows on in those clubs. Now, the difficulty with going to the U.S. is always tougher for you guys to go U.S. than it is for you to tour in Canada. So I know you guys are looking for some shows. You guys have a show coming up this month, right?
We do. East Side Bar and Grill on the 26th from 2 to 6 with ourselves, Newport Electric, and the Mongrels. So that is the show to check out.
Now the Mongrels, Steve, are they? They're local, right?
Favorite band, yeah.
And
They're love boys.
They're great.
no, you know what? I can't tell you that I've ever heard their music.
You
You're
got
missing out.
Oh well,
Yeah.
I got to give them a listen.
They're at the Richmond Town. They've got a recurring monthly matinee, the first Sunday of every month from 4 to 7,
Oh wow.
without fail.
You got to
Who's in the Mongrels?
Sorry,
Who are the members of the Mongrels?
Robert Charles Dunn and Joel are playing the two front. They both play guitar and sing, and Nick Eli on drums and Ed Shuba on bass.
Oh right. Wow.
Yeah, great band.
Yeah. And they do a lot of covers, Ken. Like they have an original record out, but they do like their show is.
I don't know that I've ever heard them.
You should make a point to go see them. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said are they playing a residency at the Richmond?
First Sunday of every month.
That's correct.
Really?
There every Sunday.
Is it like a
rock and roll rent party?
Is it like a matinee?
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 to 7.
They call it the rock and roll matinee party.
Your guys' show in November was a huge exception for me, because during flu and cold season, I typically don't go out to live shows, because my daughter is so severely immunocompromised.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to bring anything home to her.
Absolutely.
And so I'm very careful about where I go, what I do in the wintertime, through the winter months. So you'll see me out more to live shows over the summer. Of course, you're not going to see me much for the month of August.
You out of here?
I'm traveling across North America by motorcycle.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
We're doing like a 31-day cruise across America.
Wow.
And we're starting in London, or starting in St. Thomas, Ontario, and we're traveling to Appleton, Wisconsin, to the largest music festival for independence in North America.
Wow.
They have close to 100,000 people that show up there for the weekend. They have 40 venues in a mile. 40 venues in a mile, like something like 4 live stages, outdoor live stages.
That's awesome.
It is a really cool music festival. So it's my first attendance at this. This is their 12th year of operation. We're going to see the Harley Davidson Museum. We're going to spend 3 days out in Sturgis, South Dakota, for the Sturgis Bike Week event out there. So we're going to be one of over 500,000 bikers there.
Wow, that sounds like a great time.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're going to take in a show at the Buffalo Chip because we're going to be doing so much riding. We're going to be riding the Needles Highway, and we're going to be riding the Black Hills, and then from there, we're heading out to Billings, Montana, and then down to Yellowstone.
You're going everywhere.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we'll end up in Portland, Oregon, at about day 12, day 13. And then we're taking the Pacific Coast Highway all the way down to this side of Los Angeles. And then we're traveling across California down to Tombstone, Arizona
Right on.
to see the OK Corral.
Perfect.
Cool.
And then we're going to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And if you guys ever get a chance to go down there, you want a really cool experience. Ken Riley owns a recording studio down there called Rio Grande Studios, and it is off the frickin' hook, boys. He's got a full grand piano in his live room. It is a killer place. And he produces for a ton of heavy hitters, but he has a heart for independent music. He sent me, I think, something like 4 artists. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right? Sometimes it's not a fit. Depends where everybody's at. Anyway, we're going to end up down there. We're going to see him. Then we're coming back through the Grand Canyon, Painted Desert, Hoover Dam, and then all the way through Utah and Colorado on the way home.
Sounds like a fantastic trip.
Wow.
Yeah, I think about 15,000 miles.
Wow. My God.
We'll travel that. We'll travel about 15,000 miles. We're going to be traveling an average of 300 to 400 miles a day.
Really? Wow.
But the thing is that when you're on ride days, right? You ride 12 hours.
Straight, just go.
You're on the road for 12 hours. So you ride, you hop off the bike, you have a break, you have a stretch break. We stretch about every hour of riding.
Really?
Yeah. We ride somewhere around 100 kilometers and we'll stop for 5-10 minutes, have a swig of water, whatever. Right. And of course we're going to be riding in hot weather. So we're going to be, thirsty.
Yeah.
Down in that part of the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the first time I've ever been on a motorcycle ride where I'm going to have to do at least one oil change on the road.
Way.
My God. Fantastic.
So it'll be an interesting thing. I just finished booking the first 2 legs of the trip. We're booked all the way over to Tucson, Arizona already.
Oh,
Very nice.
So now
Planning, eh?
this is like so I'm getting practice here to book strategics for tours.
Yeah.
Nice.
You're doing the legwork.
Roadmap.
Right. I'm thinking about a roadmap of places where bands might want to think about going and playing and touring,
Yeah.
One of the guys, there's a guy on our label. He tours all down through the southern states in the winter. He's from Iowa. So he gets away from the cold weather and then plays solo shows in the South all winter long.
Oh, wow. Good plan.
Sounds terrible.
It's a terrible. He's a guy you guys should meet. His name's Jeremy Ober, and the guy's brilliant. He's from Fort Dodge, Iowa. He's on the label.
Okay.
He's a killer singer-songwriter. The guy is a wicked guitar player.
Wonderful.
And a great writer. But he makes a living full-time off music.
Yeah, good for him.
He doesn't do anything else but music. Yeah, he plays a lot of really great solo shows. He's got some really great regular gigs he plays now. That's become a circuit thing for him.
Wow.
Right.
What about the residency idea? How do you guys think that would work for live music, for like what you guys do?
We've thought about it. We haven't jumped into anything, but it's an idea we've kind of batted around before.
A residency thing could end up being like a rehearsal, like a Sunday afternoon rehearsal,
mm-hmm.
that ends up turning into a well attended event, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I remember we started a jam night that way, right? So we went to a local bar. A buddy of mine went to a local bar, and we said, we want to start a jam night here. Well, we don't have money to pay you for that, right? Well, don't pay us anything. What do you mean don't pay us anything? Let's see how many people we start bringing into the bar each night with the jam night. Let's do 4 weeks. We'll come up here and do the jam for 4 weeks. If we start bringing people in to make it worth your while, you give us $400 for doing the jam night.
How'd that work?
Okay, done. And that's what we got was $400.
And you brought him in.
and there was only two of us. We made we made $200 every Wednesday night for running a jam night, and we brought in all kinds of players just because it was all advertised by word of mouth and
Nice.
and on social media, and people showed up.
Mhm.
Mic type setup.
My buddy actually started it, and then he called me and said, "Would you like to do some jam nights with us?" Sometimes there were three of us doing it. It just there were different players that came and went for a while, and and then he and I ran an acoustic jam for years.
Just get up and play, and
We started at a local pub, and it caught on, and the guy running the pub said, "You know, what do you want?" And we said, "Give us $150 each."
mm-hmm.
He gave us $300 for doing the jam night there, right? And he quadrupled his money on liquor sales.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was the thing. We brought people into the bar who didn't usually come in. And the cool thing about the pub we played at, there were musicians that lived within blocks where they could walk down, have a couple of pints of beer, and jam.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Right. So that was the other cool thing. There were, like, within walking distance, we had three drummers and at least 3 bass guitarists.
It's 3 bands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we never had any short of jammers and, different people coming in. And sometimes, the guys would throw a band together and some chick would get up and sing.
That's a good tool for learning how to play with other musicians as well.
Yeah. I mean, starting off doing something like that where you host even a jam afternoon, right? A jam afternoon on a Sunday afternoon. Or sometimes a Saturday afternoon jam goes over really well, right?
Yeah.
A buddy of mine used to have random jams on Saturdays, and it's in his basement, right? And there'd be like 15 musicians that would show up.
Nice.
He never even he's a killer drummer, but he wouldn't even get up and play one song. And I said, "Why not?" Because he said, "I'm enjoying listening to everybody else."
Can't afford me.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
And that's the cool thing about what you guys do, right? You guys are all really comfortable. I could see you guys up on the stage. You all seem really, really comfortable with yourselves up there.
That's our happy spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't.
More comfortable up there.
I didn't see any nerves. I mean, the guy that probably surprised me the most, and it's probably because he's the enigma of all you guys. Who do you think I'm talking about? The enigma. I'm going to put him on the screen right here. There he is.
There he is.
Ron?
Andrew, I mean, man, you had some wicked moments at that show.
Thank you.
With some great showmanship when you got your guitar up like that and you're shaking it. You're shaking it, and that one part where you go down and you're either banging on the guitar or wiggling it and moving it, right? It's like you're almost like, I thought you were going to get on it and start surfing for a minute.
That was close.
Yeah, you know what? Don't tempt him.
Hey, listen. We used to play with a guy named Kim LaFurla, and he was one of the only musicians I knew that could play Hendrix solos with his teeth. Right?
That's awesome.
And this guy was a killer guitar player, and he literally would get it feeding back on stage, and he'd stand on it and grab the neck and go,
nice.
Oh yeah.
Wicked.
He had a Fender Strat, and he'd stand on that thing almost like a surfer. He just knew exactly how much to bend the neck to get that.
Get what he wanted. Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
I mean, who's this? That was before whammy bars, man.
Absolutely.
Back up next backstage.
That was before the Floyd Rose. That was before the Floyd Rose, right?
Wow.
I know guys that used to do dive bombs by stretching the top of the neck of their guitar.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
Smokes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because that was before the whammy bar, right?
Absolutely.
You had to learn to use the characteristics of the guitar itself.
Absolutely to get the sounds.
There's those those Telecasters that were made with the bending B string. You would move the neck of the guitar and it
Yep.
would bend the
Absolutely.
B string and stuff. Yeah.
Well, and it's really funny because our lead guitar player, he plays it's not his Strat, man. It's a Frankentar. Right?
Nice.
It's a really cheap guitar, but he's got these wicked kick-ass pickups in it. And it has the floating bridge on it, but he doesn't use the whammy bar, but it sounds like he's using it.
Yeah. Well, sometimes those are the best guitars anyway.
Absolutely. I agree.
Well, with the floating bridge, because when he's doing certain things, when he's doing those dive bombs and those pitch harmonics, you can actually hear the string moving.
Wicked.
With the stretch of it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Very.
It's a neat technique, and I saw you doing some of that. That's hard playing a solo when you're up like this, right?
Absolutely.
No, not
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah. I've always believed in not just reciting the notes, but feeling them, feeling every note you play.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the guy here that was keeping down the beat for you guys right there. This is the one half of your killer rhythm section.
Absolutely.
Right?
The monster himself.
And something that really occurred to me when I was listening to Takes Me Back, there's a really, really cool rhythm section going in that song. You can actually hear it through the whole, it's almost like this web that you guys have woven, right?
Very
And the cool thing about it is that when I listen to the mix of the song, there's a nice layering of everything in there. I can hear Ron's bass up and down and over and under your drums. Like it's not. It's so cool the way that those work together. And then I'm assuming, Steve, you do a lot of rhythm work, right?
Right. Yeah. Shout out to Kyle Ashburn at Sugar Shack too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And I hear that rhythm, in the background, and so this guy and this guy here hold down the bottom end of the rhythm section. Ron, you're a skilled bassist. You're mostly a finger plucker, right?
Yeah.
So
I play the pick once in a while, but
so
mostly
Geddy
fingers.
Lee would call you more the real bassist.
Yeah.
And you guys have a 3-piece rhythm section, which is really, really cool in a 4-piece band, right?
Yeah.
We're a lot like that. You guys are a lot like Green Ink that way. We have a 3-piece rhythm section as well. I play primarily rhythms in the band, and Brian does most of the lead guitar work. However, we do some dual lead stuff now.
That's very good.
So we're trying to do like more harmony leads and stuff like that, and weaving. So him and I are kind of like someone lacing up a boot when we do some of our lead stuff now. They're very like he plays something more, I don't know what you would call it, but he's following a very specific scale, and I'm playing something that's more melodic.
Well, that's something that Andrew and I consciously work on between us as well.
Yeah.
I play a lot of open tune guitars. I probably split probably half the songs I play in standard tuning, and the rest are in open G, open E. So you get a lot of different sonically sounding ideas that way.
Absolutely.
And then this guy who gets to put the icing on the cake, right? I mean, you guys have baked this really, really great cake, right?
That's right.
Now this guy gets to go and put icing all over it, like the decorative kind of
in the world.
the decorative kind of icing, right?
Yeah.
And it's difficult because I as a rhythm guitar player, everybody faces a dual challenge. Steve, you got a dual challenge, right? Your dual challenge is singing the vocals and playing the rhythm sections that you need to be playing.
Absolutely.
Andrew's got to be able to come back and forth between playing rhythm and leads, because I hear his chops in there as well with the rhythm section at times where it's appropriate, and I'm sure that's something that's come with feel over time, right?
Absolutely.
And I mean, and here's this is the most important player of every band,
He's got the worst view in rock and roll, though.
He's got the worst. He's got the worst view. He's got the worst view in rock. And this is one reason why I never stand in front of my drummer. People go, when you do a live show, how come you're either to the right or the left of the drummer? I said, because he's the most important guy up here on the stage. If he fucks up, we're done.
Yeah, that's right. That's
We
right.
might as
The
well
train
all.
stops.
We might as well all go home.
Yeah.
He doesn't fuck up. That's the key.
And you know, people don't. My drummer is the most valuable person in my band, and I'm probably the hardest guy on him because I know what he's capable of.
Mhm.
Right, so I'm always trying to get him to go next level. Right, he's 67 years old, so I mean, you know, we're working against age here now, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys know who I'm talking about?
I don't think we do.
Mike Hackman.
Oh, I've heard of Mike. Yeah.
So he is Paul Hackman's little brother, who was the original lead guitar player for Helix.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay.
Very cool.
So he's our steady drummer. Yeah.
Right on.
Nice.
Oh.
It's gonna have-
Small world, right? I mean, that 3 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right?
Yeah.
I mean, who knew I'd meet, you know, these wonderful 4 guys from London, and you know, hopefully this becomes a long-standing working relationship, but also a bridge to building a great friendship over time.
Oh, for sure.
I'm really grateful that you guys chose Indie Tune Records for your home for your music, because
here.
without artists like you, the label wouldn't exist.
Mm.
So that's really important. You guys provide us a product, not only a product, but a good product and a great product in a lot of people's eyes.
Nice, kid.
You know, I think the music speaks for itself. So, you know, it drops this Friday, right?
Takes me back. First single.
Takes me back. Yep.
Takes
That's
me
right.
back. Are you the primary writer on that song, Steve?
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So that one came out. I was standing on the shore of Lake Huron. Packing up. It was the cottage I was at for the week, and it was a year to the day after Gord Downey had passed, and the music was obviously on the radio everywhere, and it was just this morose, gray, cast over day. And I was thinking about how much Gord and the Hip meant to me growing up. I was a fan before I was ever trying to copy their music style. And you get thinking about it all day. And then I came home, and one of my friends posted, as a tribute to him, a link on Facebook to a concert on YouTube. It was the Hip Maple Leaf Gardens, February '95. And I was there. I was at that show. And it was like a different angle than I was sitting at, obviously. But as soon as it started, bang, it took me right back. And that's where it came from.
And
Yeah, I played in a cover band back in the late 80s, early 90s, and we played at GT's downtown.
I remember that part.
We played in the basement down there every 6 weeks like clockwork. And we played a heavy rotation of hip tunes.
There's lots to choose from, yeah.
A, because I love to shake my voice like I'm on a paint shaker. and B, I love their music, right?
It's so good, yeah.
That's awesome.
It's raw.
Yeah, it's great music, and you know, why wouldn't people like it? Because it's you know, not only does it tell a story, but there's some really great riffs in their music.
Well, it's music you can listen to without the lyrics, and then the lyrics tell their own story. The lyrics stand up with it anyway.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, you know what? A whole hour has gone by.
Wow.
You know, and we still didn't learn a whole lot yet. So coming back next week, I think it's going to be you, Steve, and it's going to be John.
I think it might be just John. We're going to work that out.
Right. Well, anybody else is always willing to join us and put their 2 cents in, because, you know, this is not a closed shop. The idea is to create community. And if people have stuff to comment on and they want to go on air as commenting, then I love to bring them on as contributors, because different viewpoints, I think, are really important in terms of us trying to build what we're doing here with the show.
Absolutely.
Because it's much about promoting what we do as a label as much as it is about promoting independent music and the things that affect independent artists and what's going on. Now you guys got a show the end of this month. You want to say that again?
Yeah,
That is what,
46.
Yeah, January 26th.
and that is a Sunday afternoon show at the East Side Bar and Grill, London, Ontario, down on Hamilton Road, right?
Yep.
Right.
2 to
Yep.
6 p.m.
So get that up there on your socials after the show, boys, because people should be coming out to that show to support you guys. I'm sure there will be lots of people coming out there. It's a really great concept. I really like it, and I hope it takes off.
It's the show to end all shows.
There we go.
Sure.
Favorite bands and us.
Is it a make it?
Yeah. Our favorite band.
You're not so favorite band of Southwestern Ontario's on the bill with you.
That's right.
Us.
All right. Well, we've had the members of Brother Leeds from London, Ontario with us tonight. Are you guys in line for any awards, any musical awards in the city of London?
Those aren't until May, is it, Steve? Is it May
It's
or something
usually,
like
I
that?
think, the first week of June are the CLMAs.
Yeah. And usually I think voting comes up sometime
Right.
in like April, is it?
Right.
Something like that. You vote, they get voted into whatever category they think that you should be in. Like last year, we were in fan favorite, and the 3 years before that, we were in rock band.
Well, why
of the
don't we
year.
see? Why don't we see? There's a few. There's a couple 3 awards in the Juno Awards that are available to independent music artists that are not dependent upon your record sales.
Thanks.
Hold on.
Yeah, so like Factor. There's a couple. There's one by Factor, and there's a couple others that they're presented at the Juno Awards, where you can get a nomination. So guess who is a voting member of the Juno Awards? Did you guys
right?
not see? Did you guys not see that I cast my votes already?
I didn't. I missed that.
Yeah, so I've been a voting member of the Juno Awards now since 2017.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Cool.
I'm a member of the Recording Arts and Sciences of Canada.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
in good standing, I might add.
Beautiful.
That's good to hear.
So I can get artist music into first rounds by making a nomination.
Thanks.
That
So
would be- yeah.
And what happens is all I have to do is I have to declare a conflict of interest, of course, because you guys are on the label. Right. But I also know other members of the Academy who might be willing to put a nomination forth for you in my stead.
Nice.
So what I would
Right.
do is just put out, a message and say, I'm looking for anybody that would give these guys a listen and see if they're worthy of making a nomination for new best single or something like that.
Right. The hockey fans.
Right.
That would be awesome.
And so that's something that I'm looking at how I can build my greater networks. So I attended the Juno Awards in 2019 when they were in London. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. No.
So I was right up near the front, and then I got to attend the after party. I got to chin wag with Jim Cuddy after the show.
Nice.
He's a cool dude, man. I wish I had a shitty BlackBerry back then, and you know what? The photographs were sucky. They were terrible, right? Here I got Jim Cuddy, right? And I'm talking to him, and and then I'm taking selfies with him.
I'm
Right?
a fan of Cuddy and Keeler, both.
He
With your
was
BlackBerry.
a cool
shirt.
dude, man.
Yeah.
We were at that point in time. I was doing some. I was a bit more involved in doing trying to get Sarah Smith some traction,
Mhm.
and I was pitching Sarah Smith to him at this after party. I said,
Nice.
Jim, I know you're going out on tour next year. I don't know if you have any opening acts for you, but she would go to the ends of the earth to be your opening act. And I said, if you hired her to be your opening act, you would not be disappointed.
Yeah, Sarah's great.
Yeah, Sarah puts on an awesome
She
show.
would,
Absolutely.
she would bring you a whole different audience. And she would bring you an audience who also is very passionate about music.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
You know, there's an independent artist, you know, if people want to model themselves after someone who's got a decent level of success, Sarah Smith's the one.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
yeah.
has.
She works
Yeah,
for it.
and she's done it all
She works
herself,
hard
really.
for it, man.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. she
How many?
does.
Okay, so you guys got this live gig coming up in this month. We're in the third period of overtime, so I want to end it here. So, how many live shows you got coming up so far that you're aware of?
About a half dozen. Does that sound about right?
Sounds
Yeah,
about
about
right.
5
Yep.
or 6.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Nice. So get them up there on your socials, boys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I know somebody who loves to work socials for people. So if you're ever looking for a freelancer, I know somebody that does it really, really well. My daughter has her own PR company.
Nice.
Great.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
You guys that don't.
Yeah, well,
Steve is smiling.
she has done a great deal of work for some people on Instagram and in some cases took their Instagram accounts from 0 to 12,000 followers.
Wow. Very
And-
impressive.
And that's all organic growth. She doesn't do any ads. She doesn't do any of those promo things or any of that. This is all networking.
Good for
Mhm.
Yeah.
But she has people like Stephen Piercy from Rat who follow her and shit like that, right?
fantastic.
She's got some heavy hitters throughout the music industry that follow her. A couple of guys, I think, in Def Leppard follow her.
Nice.
And they boost her posts periodically, right? So her post can get in front of people. She does reels for a couple of people, and some of those reels have had over 200,000 views.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Impressive.
Very
You know,
impressive.
That's cool.
but people don't know she's doing that work because, you know, it's somebody else who's posting the work.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
She creates the reels and they get the credit.
Yeah. That's the way it works, right?
Now, but she started her own PR company now. So now what she does is collabs with people.
Okay.
So she posts it off her Instagram, and then when someone collabs with her, it pings off their account.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it
Cool.
still looks like they're collaborating with the PR company.
Cool.
Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
So it's a much more professional approach to doing it, and it's more descriptive of what's really happening there, right? But yeah, I mean, you know, get that networking going. Think of one new way to network. That's my challenge to you for 2025. We got to have you guys back on again because we want to talk about, before the year gets too far along, I want to talk about your goals for 2025.
Yeah. We'd love to be back, Ken. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Come back.
And I, if you guys would be brave enough to explore that whole goals thing, it might be really helpful to other artists who are watching the show.
Sure.
Yeah.
Any way we can.
All right.
Yeah.
So Brother Leeds,
World
Brother Leeds is
domination.
coming back. We're going to pick a date to get them back here, and we're going to talk about goals for 2025. And by that time, we'll be able to catch up with them a little bit and see if they're anywhere close to some of the things they set that they want to do in 2025. And we'll do a bit of a review and look forward. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Right.
Awesome.
Next week, Steve joins me with John Couture of Newport Electric for a show you're not going to want to miss. So we'll see you guys next week. Remember, this is the Indie Show. I'm Kenny. You're not. Have a great end of your week, everybody.